My name is Jessica Torres. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a correctional officer. I've only been doing this job for 3 years, but 3 years is more than enough to learn one truth. They are inmates, but they are still people. People with fears, regrets, anger, and sometimes hope. If you want to hear the real stories from behind these walls, the ones most people never talk about, subscribe to this channel. These are the stories I lived, and this is where I tell them. The scream from cell 23 cut through the usual evening noise of C Block like a knife. I was doing my rounds, just another Tuesday night shift at Riverside, when I heard it. High-pitched, desperate, and then suddenly muffled, like someone had clamped their hand over their own mouth. I'm Jessica Torres. I've been a correctional officer here for 3 years, and I thought I'd heard every kind of sound a person could make behind bars. I was wrong. Torres, you hear that? Officer Martinez called from the other end of the corridor. I nodded, already moving towards cell 23. The nameplate read, Rivera M. Maya Rivera, 22 years old, in for drug possession with intent to distribute. She'd been here for 6 months, quiet, kept to herself mostly. I'd noticed she'd been wearing baggier uniforms lately, but lots of inmates did that. Comfort over style when you're facing 3 to 5 years. I reached the cell and looked through the window. Maya was on her bunk, curled into a ball, facing the wall. Her cellmate, an older woman named Diane, stood by the bars looking panicked. Officer Torres, Diane whispered urgently, "You need to get her to medical. Now, what's wrong?" I pulled out my keys, the metal cold against my palm. "Just open the door. Please." Something in Diane's voice made me move faster. I unlocked the cell and stepped inside. The smell hit me first, sweat, and something else, something sharp and biological that made my stomach turn. "Maya." I approached the bunk slowly. "Maya, I need you to turn around and talk to me." She didn't move. Her shoulders were shaking. "Maya, if you don't respond, I have to call medical, and we'll do this the hard way." "I'd rather not." "I can't." Her voice was so small, I almost didn't hear it. "Officer Torres, I can't go to medical." I glanced at Diane, who had backed into the corner, her arms wrapped around herself. She looked terrified. In 3 years, I'd never seen Diane scared of anything. "Why not?" I kept my voice gentle, but my hand moved to my radio instinctively. Maya finally turned over, and my breath caught. Her face was pale, covered in sweat, her lips bloodless. But it was her eyes that got me, wide with terror and something else. Shame. "Because they'll know," she whispered. "Know what?" She pulled herself into a sitting position, and that's when I saw it. Even with the baggy uniform, even with the way she hunched forward, I saw the curve of her belly. My mind raced backward through the past months. Maya always wore the largest size uniform. Maya always ate standing up at the corner table. Maya never showered when others did. "Oh my God," I breathed. "I'm 8 months," she said, and tears started streaming down her face. "Maybe more. I don't know exactly. I can't go to medical, Officer Torres. Please. They'll take my baby away. They'll put me in solitary. I've heard what they do." My heart was hammering. This wasn't in any training manual. This was bigger than anything I'd handled before. "Maya, you need medical attention. If you're 8 months. I'm having contractions." She gritted her teeth as another one hit. I watched her face contort with pain, her hands gripping the edge of the bunk, so hard her knuckles went white. "They started this morning. They're getting closer." I had about 30 seconds to make a decision that would affect the rest of this girl's life, and maybe mine too. My hand was still on my radio. One call, and medical would be here in minutes. Protocol. Rules. Everything I was supposed to do. But I looked at Maya's face and saw something that made me pause. I saw my cousin Maria, who got pregnant at 19 and watched the system try to tear her baby away because of an old possession charge. I saw every young woman from my neighborhood who'd been chewed up and spit out by a system that didn't care about their humanity. Diane, I said quietly, how long have you known? 3 months, Diane admitted. I've been helping her hide it, getting her extra portions at meals, covering for her in the showers. I know I should have said something, but Officer Torres, she moved closer, her voice dropping even lower. You know what they do to pregnant inmates here. You've seen it. I had. I'd seen women shackled during labor. I'd seen newborns taken away within hours of birth. I'd seen mothers sent back to their cells, still bleeding, still crying, with no one to care for them. How far apart are the contractions? I asked Maya. About 7 minutes. That gives us time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I couldn't just call it in. Not yet. Maya, I need you to tell me everything. Right now. Who's the father? She looked down. A guard. My blood went cold. Who? I can't tell you that. He'll lose his job, and I need him. He promised to help me when I get out. He promised. Maya. I crouched down, so we were eye level. Listen to me very carefully. Did he force you? No. She met my eyes, and I believed her. I know how it sounds. I know what you're thinking. But we fell in love. I know that's stupid. I know the rules, but it happened. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was happy. For the first time since I got locked up, I had something to look forward to. Another contraction hit. This one was stronger. Maya grabbed my hand, squeezing so hard I felt my bones grind together. When it passed, she was gasping. 5 minutes, she panted. I stood up, my mind racing. Diane, has she had any prenatal care at all? I was a nurse before. Diane gestured vaguely. Before I ended up here, I've been checking her blood pressure with a homemade cuff, making sure she's eating right, feeling the baby's position. Everything seems normal, but Officer Torres, she needs real medical attention. The baby could be breech, the umbilical cord could be wrapped, there could be 1,000 complications. I know. I press my palms against my eyes. Think, Jessica. Think. The problem was simple. If I called medical now, Maya would be taken to the prison hospital, probably put in restraints, definitely separated from her baby almost immediately. The father, whoever he was, would be investigated and fired at minimum, possibly charged. Maya would likely face additional charges or at least solitary confinement, and the baby would enter the foster system. But if I didn't call medical and something went wrong, a woman could die, a baby could die, and I would be responsible. Officer Torres. Maya's voice cut through my thoughts. I know what I'm asking. I know it's not fair, but please just give me a chance to have my baby the right way. Not in chains, not in some cold hospital room with guards watching. Please. I thought about my mother, who'd given birth to me in a small apartment in East LA with just my grandmother and a neighbor who used to be a midwife. I thought about my sister, who'd had her daughter in a bright hospital room surrounded by family and love. Every woman deserved that choice, even women in prison. I need to make a call, I said. Finally, Maya's face crumpled. No, please. Not to medical. I cut her off. To someone who can help. Someone I trust. I stepped out of the cell, locked it behind me, and walked to the end of the corridor where I couldn't be overheard. My hands shook as I pulled out my personal phone. This was against regulations, but everything about this situation was against regulations. I called my friend Sarah, who worked as an EMT and sometimes did prison medical transport. She owed me a favor from when I'd helped her sister avoid a DUI charge last year. Sarah, it's Jessica. I need you now, and I need you to not ask questions. 20 minutes later, Sarah arrived with a medical bag, dressed in civilian clothes. I'd arranged for her to be signed in as a family counselor doing evening rounds. It wasn't perfect, but it would buy us time. In cell 23, things were progressing fast. Maya's contractions were 3 minutes apart now. Diane had gathered what supplies she could, clean sheets from the laundry she'd been folding for work detail, a bottle of water, some towels. Sarah took one look at Maya and turned to me with wide eyes. How far along? 8 months, maybe more. Jesus, Jessica, this is. I know what it is. I met her gaze. Can you help her or not? Sarah set her jaw and nodded. Okay, but if anything goes sideways, we call real medical. Understood. Understood. For the next 3 hours, I stood guard outside cell 23 while inside, Sarah and Diane worked with Maya. I told the other officers on duty that we had a situation contained, medical was aware, and to keep other inmates clear of this section. Martinez gave me a suspicious look but didn't push it. He knew I wouldn't risk my job for nothing. The sounds from inside the cell were agonizing. Maya's screams, her sobs, Sarah's calm instructions, Diane's reassuring murmurs. I'd never felt so helpless in my life. Every time I heard Maya cry out, I questioned my decision. What if something went wrong? What if the baby was in distress? What if I was playing God with two lives because of some misguided sense of justice? But then I remembered the look in Maya's eyes, the desperate hope, the human need to be treated with dignity, even when you've made mistakes. At 11:47 p.m., I heard a different sound, a tiny, warbling cry. I actually felt my knees go weak with relief. Sarah appeared at the cell bars a moment later, exhausted but smiling. It's a girl, she said quietly, small but healthy, breathing on her own. Both mother and baby are stable. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Thank God. Jessica. Sarah's expression turned serious. You know this doesn't solve anything, right? You've just delayed the inevitable. The baby will still be taken. Maya will still face consequences. I know, but at least she got to hold her. At least she got those first few hours. That's more than this system usually gives them. I entered the cell. Maya was propped up against the wall, pale and exhausted, but radiant. In her arms was a tiny bundle wrapped in a sheet. The baby's face was red and scrunched, her little fist waving in the air. Thank you, Maya whispered. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Officer Torres, thank you. I sat down beside her. What are you going to name her? Hope. Maya looked down at her daughter, because that's what she is. For 20 minutes, we all sat in that cell in silence, watching Maya hold her baby. Diane cried quietly in the corner. Sarah packed up her supplies, and I wrestled with what came next. Finally, I stood up. Maya, I have to call it in now. I'm sorry, but I know. She kissed her daughter's forehead. I know you do. You gave me more than I deserved, more than I expected. You deserve dignity. I said, every mother does. I made the call to medical. Within minutes, the cell was flooded with personnel. They took Maya and the baby to the prison hospital. I filed my report, carefully omitting certain details, but not lying outright. I wrote that I discovered Maya in labor and had assisted with an emergency delivery while waiting for medical to arrive. The investigation that followed was brutal. They questioned me for hours. They reviewed security footage. They interviewed Diane, Sarah, every officer on duty that night. But my story held. There were gaps, sure, but nothing they could definitively prove. Maya's baby was placed with her mother, Maya's grandmother, who lived in Fresno. Maya got to see Hope twice before the placement went through supervised visits in the medical wing. It wasn't enough, not by a long shot, but it was something. The father was never identified. Maya never told, and I never pushed. Some secrets are worth keeping. Maya was released 8 months later on good behavior. The first thing she did was go to Fresno to see her daughter. She sent me a letter with a picture. Maya holding Hope, both of them smiling in front of a Christmas tree. Dear Officer Torres, the letter read, Hope is walking now. She says a few words, Mama, no more. I got a job at a grocery store, and I'm taking night classes. I'm not using anymore. I'm clean. I'm doing everything right this time. I wanted you to know that your decision that night, the risk you took, it mattered. It gave me a reason to be better. Thank you for seeing me as human when I needed it most. Love, Maya, and Hope. I keep that letter in my locker at work. On hard days, when I question why I do this job, when I feel like I'm just another cog in a broken machine, I read it. Some people would say I was wrong, that I violated protocol, endangered lives, let my emotions override my duty. Maybe they're right. I've thought about that night 1,000 times, wondered if I'd make the same choice again. The truth is, I don't know. Every situation is different. Every person is different. But I do know this. Maya Rivera was a 22-year-old girl who made mistakes, who ended up in a system designed to punish, not rehabilitate, and who needed someone to see her as more than just an inmate number. That night, I chose to see her. I chose to give her a few hours of dignity in a place where dignity is rare. I chose to let her be a mother, even if just for a moment. Was it the right choice? I'm not sure I get to decide that, but it was the human choice. And in a place like Riverside, sometimes that's the best we can do. I still work C Block. I still see Maya's old cell every day. And sometimes late at night when the facility is quiet, I can almost hear that tiny cry again, the sound of new life in a place surrounded by concrete and bars. Hope. That's what Maya named her. And maybe that's what we all need more of in places like this. A little hope, a little humanity, a reminder that everyone, no matter what they've done, deserves a moment of grace. This story changed me. It made me question everything I thought I knew about rules and right and wrong. It taught me that sometimes the most important thing you can do is listen to your conscience, even when it contradicts your training. If this story touched you, if it made you think about how we treat incarcerated women, pregnant women, mothers separated from their children, then please like and subscribe. I'll be sharing more stories from C Block, stories that challenge what we think we know about justice and punishment. In my next video, I'll tell you about the day a 19-year-old inmate tried to escape through the ventilation system and why her plan almost worked. Don't miss it.